Howdy, all. I am Adam the Renaissance Nerd, and welcome once again to my Star Wars Expanded Universe Book Club, where we cover the EU because the EU is real Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is trash. Again and again proves to be nothing but hot, fiery garbage. We're here to celebrate real Star Wars, the EU. And where are we now? We have arrived at Dark Empire, a bit of a controversial story, released in 1991 alongside the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy. Dark Empire it gets mixed reviews from EU fans, and I completely understand why, because having reread it multiple times, having owned it multiple times in multiple formats, I understand its problems, and compared to some things, it doesn't entirely age well, but we're going to do this a little differently this week because it's a comic book. We're not going to be so long on it. The story is very simple, very quick. It's only 6 issues, and we're only covering Dark Empire. We're not covering Dark Empire 2. We're not covering End of the Empire or Empire's End, whatever it's called, because when we get to the Jedi Academy trilogy, where we're coming up on next, only the events of Dark Empire are referenced, because when the Jedi Academy trilogy came out, Dark Empire 2 and Empire's End were still in production, and clearly nobody was communicating. And if we go by the tiered system, the books trump the comics. Therefore, as I said, we're only going to cover Dark Empire, the 6-issue events concerning the return of Palpatine, the World Devastators, Luke's fall to the dark side, and his road to the beginning of his road to redemption. What's going on in Dark Empire? Okay. Again, because it came out according to the dates, I remember seeing it maybe a little bit later, but it came out parallel to the Thrawn trilogy, and the Thrawn trilogy took precedence as a time. And so it references some couple things like, well, okay, one thing, the Jason and Jaina, that they exist, not by name, but that the kids exist. Therefore, Dark Empire is technically now supposed to take place in the year or so between the end of the Thrawn trilogy, Last Command, and the beginning of the Jedi Academy trilogy. What's going on? The New Republic comes under sudden assault by a fresh Imperial threat. The Empire suddenly has been resurgent, not under Thrawn, under somebody else, and they lose a bunch of worlds, but then the Imperials start to fight amongst themselves. Luke and Lando lead an attack on what I guess is Coruscant. They don't call it Coruscant in the comic, but it's supposed to be Coruscant, I guess. And they crash land and this and that. And Han and Leia lead a task force to rescue them. And basically, they find Luke and Lando. They're okay. And Luke emerges. We see Luke demonstrate some pretty cool Force abilities there. He's able to literally use his lightsaber and his Force abilities to deflect blaster bolts from an AT-AT. And that was very cool, and he destroys the AT-AT thus. After that, though, a Force storm appears on Coruscant, and Luke tells everybody, get the hell out. This is the dark side attack meant solely for him. Luke, along with R2, gets sucked into the Force storm and transported to the core of the galaxy, specifically a planet called Biss, a Imperial stronghold rife with dark side energy. And what does Luke discover there? But Palpatine is alive, but with a twist. It is a clone. No, not a clone, a clone body. This is the mistake that a lot of people make when talking about Dark Empire. They say, oh, it's the clone emperor. It's the clone emperor. It's not real Palpatine. No, it is Palpatine. It's just a clone body. We learn here for the first time that Palpatine has mastered so much of the dark side that he lives purely as dark side energy at this point. Backed up by the fact that when you see him get thrown down the pit in Death Star 2, that's what rises up out of there. That's Palpatine flying up, his dark side energy, shooting away, shooting across the galaxy to seek out one of his ready clone bodies, because he's apparently been doing this for the past 20 years. Apparently, his dark side energy is so powerful, so corrupted, that it eats away at his flesh. It eats away at the flesh, and he has learned how to separate himself and transplant himself into another body. Thus, it's a clone body, not the clone emperor. It's just a clone body. Simple. It's still good old Palps, Good old Darth Sidious. Same man, same mind, same devious plan, same evil. Luke goes there, learns this secret, and Palpatine tempts Luke. Basically says, hey, Luke, okay, listen, I'm going to offer you a deal, buddy. I want you to take the place of Vader, take the place of your father. Do this. Learn the secrets of the dark side. And Luke hatches a plan in this moment, thinking the only way to beat Palpatine is to learn his secrets. Mistake. Luke gets too deep in, he gets sucked in, and Luke falls to the dark side. He becomes a Sith apprentice. Now, again, one of the canonical continuity errors is because, again, it was just written alongside the Thrawn trilogy, and Lucas had not identified Sith versus Jedi yet very clearly. The word Sith isn't uttered once in Dark Empire, but we know that Palpatine is Sith, not just a Dark Jedi. What happens? Leia and Han are concerned. They're corralled with the now restored New Republic turned rebels again. And basically, to cut a long story short, Han and Leia urges Han that we got to find Luke. We got to find out where he is. And Han hatches the plan. They go to Nar Shaddaa, the moon of Nal Hutta. Basically, smuggler haven, smuggler hell, scoundrel, criminal enterprises everywhere. While they're there, Han seeks out some old criminal buddies to try and get a lead, to try and get a ship or an ID so that they can get into the core world safely. Well, Han finds one couple old friends, but then at the same time, another old friend betrays him to bounty hunters led by Boba Fett. This is the official return of Boba Fett, the true official return of Boba Fett. And what's Boba Fett doing? He wants revenge on Han. Giving chase to the Falcon in Slave 2, Fett and his cohorts, other bounty hunters, chase Han out of the system. They eventually get out of there. Not before, though, I forgot one part, sorry. Leia finds an old Jedi who had escaped the Order 66 purge, and she gives Leia an antique lightsaber, and it's, guess because it's got a lot of force connected to it, it kind of ups Leia's force abilities temporarily. Either way, now back to the chase. Escape. Everybody escapes. Slave 1 in pursuit of the Millennium Falcon with its motley crew of Han, Leia, and a couple of bounty hunters who don't really matter. They never reappear again. Smugglers, not bounty hunters. Off they go to Biss. They arrive at Biss, and while the fake ID code on the Falcon gets him through, Slave 2 is damaged and eventually decommissioned. Fett gets out of there, and he has a falling out, apparently, with his new bounty hunter friends. And that's the end of Boba Fett. In briefly, does a badass thing, tries to take out Han, then he's gone. Apparently, he comes back at Dark Empire 2 and Dark Empire's End. It doesn't matter, though. We're not covering that, because I don't consider that really part of the EU, because it doesn't appear in, and the events aren't referred to in the books. We are on Biss. We are on a floating fortress citadel. Leia leads Han and Chewie, R2, Han, Chewie, and 3PO, and the other two bounty hunters are on the Falcon. They're hiding on the Falcon, and Han and Leia took a transport into the thing. Yeah, that was it. And they come across Luke. Who says, now you're going to see my master, the Emperor. And they're like, the Emperor's alive? Yes, the Emperor's alive. And then we get, now, Han and Chewie get thrown in the dungeon. Leia is brought to confront Palpatine, and he taunts her, says, you're going to be my apprentice. He says the Palpatine thing. You're my apprentice. You're going to join me, and you're like your brother has, and that child within you. This is where we learn suddenly that Leia is pregnant with her third child. She's pregnant with Han's third child, later to be named Anakin Solo. Leia doesn't respond well to the threat when the Emperor says, I'm going to possess your child one day. I'm going to take over his body. Leia does a dark side move, tries to telekinetically drop a piece of hardware on Palp's head, but Palp says, yeah, screw you. He destroys her temporary lightsaber, and he force lightnings her, and then he takes her away. Meanwhile, we skip ahead. Only thing that matters here, there's a whole bunch of stuff with Lando and Wedge and trying to stop the World Devastators, which are the new Imperial super weapon Palpatine has constructed from destroying those worlds. We're skipping over that because really it's kind of just there. All you need to know is that the World Devastators existed. They were sucking up planets, destroying planets. They can destroy whole Star Destroyers, And we got to see also new tech from like robotic ties, which because the Devastators are also factories, and we also see E-wings and Y-wings. E-wings, the new fighter; Y-wings, the new type of bomber. That's about all you need out of that segment of the story, because it's really not that interesting, honestly. What happens after this? Leia is treated to a nice one-on-one with Palps, because Palps now wants to try and seduce Leia to the dark side, just as Luke has been seduced to the dark side. Because Leia, now this close, understands that Luke has fully fallen. He is he's commanding everything like Vader once did, and he's gone for the moment. But Palpatine wants to seduce Leia. So Palpatine, for the first time ever, this is the first time we see it revealed in actual Star Wars canon, the Jedi Holocron, an idea of a Jedi Holocron, a holographic device that stores the memories and knowledge of long-deceased Jedi. Probably a little bit of Force technology, Force wrapped in technology. Either way, Palps has one. He uses it to lure Leia into this, and he gives it to Leia, and she's reading it. But then, Leia says "F you," and Palps reveals in this moment that he's close to his transference, that he's going to transfer to a body. And Leia throws him off his little settee he's sitting on, and he runs away. But then he realizes that she's stolen the holocron, and he's like, "Get that Jedi trash! That Jedi scum stole my holocron!" Well, Leia manages to weave her way through the fortress. Meanwhile, we jump to Luke, who is having a conversation with an Imperial officer while getting a new cybernetic hand made for him. And he basically has revealed that he has taken the codes for the World Destroyers, the World Devastators, and transferred them to R2, the shutdown codes, the master control codes. And he force mind tricks the Imperial officer to forget they had this conversation. And then Leia shows up, and Luke reveals that he has been pulled away from the grip of the dark side because of Leia's presence. Her light side bubble, as it were, I guess, has enveloped him a little bit, her purity, and he's been able to claw his way out from the trap of the dark side. And he reveals to her that they have to get out of here. The codes are on R2. Let's rescue Han. Han's angry at Luke because he thinks of betrayal. It's a little out of character for Han, little quick to the jump on. We're going to talk about that when we discuss the characterizations at the end of this. But Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, R2, and 3PO, they manage to get out. They get to the Falcon with the smuggler that the smugglers have brought along. And as they're escaping, Luke reveals that he isn't really there. He used a dark side illusion trick to make them think he was with them. Meanwhile, Luke is actually back on the station, and he is destroying Palpatine's clone with the lifeless clones of them, because Palps is about to transfer, and Luke decides it's his only chance to stop it. Well, he gets all of them but one. Young cloned Palpatine body picks up a lightsaber, and we have a quick little lightsaber duel. But remember, Luke, he's in the heart of a dark side nexus here. He's in the heart of it. Palpatine is stronger than him. Luke has fallen. He cannot fully draw on the light side, so he gets his ass kicked, gets his ass handed to him, and Palp puts a dark side, massive dark side whammy on Luke, completely corrupts him. Luke is now under his thrall. Cut to New Republic temporary HQ. Everybody's wearing with his net. We skip to the fact, forget the Lando and Wedge stuff. Let's go straight to Leia. All the important stuff in this has to do with the Jedi. The Jedi, that's all the important stuff in this. Leia's consulting Bodo Boss, the hologram, who is a part of the Holocron. And he reads her a prophecy told about the Skywalkers and how Luke would fall to the dark side, and only Leia's purity would draw him out of it. Otherwise, the Jedi are going to fall forever. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a massive 10-mile-long Star Destroyer called the Eclipse breaks out of hyperspace over the planet where the rebels are hiding. Palps is on there. He's got Luke. He basically says, "I don't care about you. I just want Leia, and I want my holocron. Bring her to me." Leia agrees because she sees this as her only chance to rescue Luke. So Leia bravely goes onto the Star Destroyer, goes onto the Eclipse, and she didn't bring the holocron. And Palpatine says, "All right, fine. Luke, break her. Break her. We're going to turn her forcefully." Leia and Luke have a mock lightsaber duel. It's not a serious duel because as they're doing it, Leia hears Luke crying out from within. Leia, help me. I've gone too far. I'm too deep. I can't get out. I need help. And using Leia as an anchor, as a lifeline, Luke pulls himself free. He breaks the control completely once and for all, but the damage is done in terms of not damage is done in terms of, let me rephrase that. Damage isn't done. Luke finally understands something. He understands that Jedi cannot conquer things alone. Jedi cannot fight darkness alone. They must do it as a unit. They must do it together. Palps is furious. Luke and Palpatine have a straight up duel, but this time Luke is bolstered by the presence of Leia, by the presence of the still growing Anakin Solo. He's bolstered their connection. It's basically a force bond, kind of I would say like a Bastila force, close to a Bastila force meditation, where basically Leia's presence is juicing Luke. And Luke overcomes Palpatine in the fight, cuts his hand off, and says, "It's over, Your Majesty. You're coming with us. You're going to be tried, and you're going to surrender." Palp says, "Hell no!" Summons a massive wormhole dark force storm and starts swallowing up the fleet. Luke says, "Leia, we can't beat him physically. He's energy. We can't stop him. We have to join forces. We have to use the force. We have to embrace it." Now, in a really cool moment, we get an overlay in dialogue boxes of Yoda's speech about the Force from Empire Strikes Back, and together, Luke, Leia, with Anakin as well, they overwhelm Palpatine. The light side, the life side of the Force overwhelms him, and he loses his control over the Dark Force storm because Luke revealed that in his own books, in his own writings, Palpatine revealed that when he summons his power, he can barely control it. It takes all his will and concentration. So when they sever the control, the Force storm turns and it starts to gobble up the Eclipse and the Imperial fleet. Luke and Leia flee it. They escape. They return to the surface. And Luke reveals, "All right, I have a new mission. Through our connection, I realize that I have to rebuild the Jedi. I cannot do this alone. We must rebuild the Jedi Order. The Jedi Order will rise again, and it's a hopeful ending, and thus Dark Empire is concluded." Really brief, really succinct. There we go. So let's talk about our heroes. Let's talk about the characters, because let's talk about the pros and the cons. The pros of this is that if you look at the Force aspects, the Jedi versus Sith aspects of the story, it's good stuff. That's the strongest point of Dark Empire. The Jedi Sith lore that we get out of this. I liked the idea of Palpatine transferring his Force. It kind of made sense to me. A lot of people, that's one of the controversies. Nobody liked the cloned Emperor. But again, it wasn't a clone. It was really Palpatine. He's just moving his body. Hell, if you use this as a retcon, the body we see in Return of the Jedi is a clone body. When we get to the dark saber, we get more confirmation that Palpatine was using clones for decades, for the 2 decades since the end of the Clone Wars. So it was always, every time we've ever seen Palpatine since the end of the Clone Wars, when he probably grew stronger and stronger, it's been clone body. So Palpatine in Return of Jedi, based upon Star Wars lore as we are laying it out here, that was a clone body too. But it was still always Palpatine. So take that. If you don't like it, tough. Them's the Star Wars lore canon facts. Star Wars lore canon facts, not Disney Star Wars canon. We're going to talk about that at the very end, of how this is one of the biggest examples of stealing from the EU after claiming the EU had no stories to tell. Anywho, characters. Luke. Luke is a little off in this, I think. He's a little off. Based on where we are now. I mean, again, this was done prior to everything going on there, so we have to kind of acceptably retcon it. But Luke going it alone, Luke kind of, okay, maybe it's not. It's a reckless action. This is still a young Luke. He can be a little reckless, I guess. And he was overwhelmed. And we learned that in this also. He wanted to know where Vader came from. He wanted to know what made Anakin be Darkseid. So it was a combination of a risky plan to try and stop Palpatine using his own powers against him, and at the same time, curiosity of what it was like for Anakin to be Vader. I say he's a little off in the beginning, but by the end you do feel it's Luke. He's a little more aggressive in this than I think Luke really should have been. A little more aggressive. But at the same time, I appreciate the story of it and how of Luke's fall, that it adds a layer of fragility to Luke. That even Luke, the newest, the hope of the Jedi right now, he falls to the dark side, and it takes him a while to climb out of this. Part of his penance after this is rebuilding the Jedi Order, and it kind of backfires on him when we get into the Jedi Academy trilogy of little remnants of what happened with Palpatine. It sticks with him till the very end. I'm not going to spoilers. I'm not going to get spoilers yet. But Luke's fall and his redemption and his return to light side mastery, it's great. And that's why this is good in that sense. This begins that, and it adds, as I said, a new layer to Luke, that Luke is not perfect. He's not perfect. He fails here. He failed. Luke Skywalker failed. He failed. And it's good, because heroes got to fail, because then they come back stronger than ever when they rebuild themselves. All right, Leia. Leia gets very good treatment in this. She's a little Mary Sue-ish in this. I got to say, Leia's a little Mary Sue-ish in this. She's a little more practiced in let's just say her Jedi abilities and Jedi skills. They're a little stronger than they should be at this point in the EU. She isn't that strong. She shouldn't be able to take Luke in any sort of lightsaber duel, even though they did spar in Thrawn Trilogy. She's been training, but she hasn't had the hardcore training. Frankly, Leia doesn't get hardcore Jedi training for another 20 years. It's another 20 years before Leia gets really serious about being a Jedi. So Leia gets a little Mary Sue, and I guess I like it that she's the anchor for Luke. She reminds him of Luke's actual Jedi purpose, that the new Jedi Order that he's going to build is about attachment. It's about connections with people. It's not about isolation. And for a moment there, Luke went into isolation, and it failed him, just like it really failed the Jedi of old. The new Jedi Order must be about connections. Must be about working together. Must be about growing, accepting emotion, not denying it. More than compassion, actual love, actual friendship. Han's he's like tertiary in this. Han is just there to say Han lines and shoot at shit. This is really a Luke and Leia story. Everybody else is secondary and tertiary. Let's see. So Han has no arc in this. He's kind of just along for the ride, unfortunately. Han has nothing to do here but just be along for the ride and bark. He's a little out of character when he instantly calls Luke this, I'm going to kill you, this and that, when Luke is on the dark side and he's betrayed them, essentially. He says, I'm going to kill you, this and that, and that's a little out of character, if you ask me. I don't think those in charge of this book understood Khan's character very well. They didn't get it. Lando and Wedge are barely in. We get a little Mon Mothma, get a little Akbar. Palpatine is perhaps probably the most properly flushed out and properly assessed character in all of this. Palpatine he's great. Palpatine is fantastic. He gives you all that evil genius feeling that we love to get from Palpatine. And at the very end, his overconfidence is his downfall again. Because even though he did corrupt Luke with the dark side, he still lets some secrets slip. If Luke had not read Palpatine's books and understood that Palpatine doesn't have full control of the Force Storm and other dark side abilities, Luke would not have been able to turn the tables on him at the very end with Leia and little assist from fetus Anakin. But Palpatine is great. So overall, let's see, the story, if you only really need, as I say, you got to understand that the Force, Jedi, Sith aspects are what's most important out of this. That's the most important stuff you need from this. The world devastators, that they existed, and the creation of E-Wings and Y-Wings, and even though robotic ties never come back again. Anyway, that's kind of it. That's all you need. Now, the bad, as I said, it's a rough continuity fit. They use a lot of odd terminology in there that kind of that Timothy Zahn did in the Thrawn trilogy, but Zahn explains it away why he did it, and I guess it's the same reasonings. There wasn't a lot of specific details to work with. Maybe these guys didn't do their research. They don't use the Coruscant. They don't say Sith. And some things are characterized very oddly. What's going on? It's a little of a rough feel. So you just got to take what's good and leave the rest behind, because only the good stuff appears in what's coming next. Let's see. Artwork. Let's just talk about the artwork. The artwork is pretty abominable in this. It's abominable artwork. It's not very good. Cover art is good in some cases, but the interior is not very good in my opinion. It always looks weird. I don't know why they chose to make lightsabers have no colors except for the very end. Leia is ugly. Han looks ugly. Luke looks weird. Frankly, Luke is off. They make Luke taller than he is supposed to be. Luke's not a tall dude. He's average height, because Mark Hamill was not a tall man. Palpatine, the only artwork that actually works is Palpatine. Palpatine looks like Palpatine when he's old Palpatine, and young Palpatine, well, we didn't have any references for that at the time, so that they made the clone look all right. I say the best thing is probably the ship architecture in the art, the ship structure, how all the different Star Destroyers, the Eclipse, the Falcon, Slave 2, the World Devastators, the E-Wings, the Y-Wings, the robotic ties. That's some of the best stuff. That stuff looks great. It's the humanoid characteristics, the aliens, all this stuff. They don't look right. They don't feel right. They don't look good. This leads me to the point that this is one of the reasons why in the end I don't like comic books as a medium to tell these types of stories, because they fall flat. We had to get exposition at times to learn what was going on in Luke's mind. This would have been so much better as a novel to understand Luke's fall to the dark side, what he was going through while he was descending. And once he is fully corrupted, we could have, if it was a novel, we could have seen the change in his mind, his thoughts go from "I'm fighting to stop Palpatine" to "Hey, maybe this is how it works. It's the only way. It feels good. I'm gonna keep doing this. This is what my father felt." Same with Leia in her head. It would have been nice to be in her head. Do you understand? This would have been better as a novel. I don't like it that it was in a comic book form, because, again, some of you may disagree with me. I don't think comic books are the pinnacle of media storytelling. Some people do think that. I do not. I think novels are the best form of telling a story, because you can get so much more into a novel. Yes, a picture says 1,000 words, but what if a picture is shitty art like in this? What if the art style is crap and it doesn't look quite right? I mean, how hard is it to give lightsabers colors? Really? How hard would that have been? Luke had a green lightsaber. Then when he was a Sith, he had a red lightsaber. Leia had a green lightsaber, whatever. How hard would that have been? Not hard. All right. I don't think I have much more to say on this, because that's pretty much it. Dark Empire. It was divisive because of the whole Clone Emperor. It was divisive because of the way the characters portrayed and the art style, but it has its strong points, and I've listed those strong points. And those strong points are all that matter as we now begin the Jedi Academy trilogy. And I apologize. Legends is a dirty word in this house, but I had to reacquire my Jedi Academy books because I lost the first two well over a decade ago. They were in a box in a Quonset hut in Florida, along with the entire section of my library that I have now replaced, but they were lost. So when I was rebuilding my library all last year, I went on Amazon, and when I read the description of the 3-pack I was buying, it said does not have Legends tag on it. Well, has the Legends tag on it, has Disney on it, and it's disgusting, but it's all I got. I was not going to return it. I spent the money, but because I still have my original Champions of the Force. So there you can see, I still got my original. So we are starting the Jedi Academy trilogy, written by one Kevin J. Anderson, who in the early days was one of the core Star Wars EU authors. So they're here, Jedi Academy trilogy, book 1, Jedi Search. It's a quick read. I expect 2 to 3 weeks. We'll be through this, and I'll make my video, and we're going to have some fun with it, and then we'll go on. We're going to plow through these, have a good time. So get a copy, find a copy, audio, hard copy, digital. Just find a copy, get your hands on it, and enjoy it. This is good stuff. The Jedi Academy trilogy is good stuff, and we're going to explain why it's good stuff as we go through it. So much is introduced here, so many great characters, so many storylines, and it's a beginning of the return, the rise of the new Jedi Order. All right. Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, a like would be appreciated. And if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm here to give you facts and logic to earn your trust and support. Facts don't care about your fee-fees. Hit the notification button. Share my videos if you like what I'm preaching. And by all means, leave a comment. It's one of the most important things you can do. You don't have to agree with every word I've said. You can have a different opinion. We can still find common ground and get along because that's what normal people do. We are not stands. We are not SJWs who are cowards behind keyboards. I don't care what they think. I will never care what they think. If we stop listening to them, they will lose all their power. Thank you again for watching this video. See you with the next book. Thanks for watching, everyone. I don't do Facebook. I will never do Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, email me at therednerd@gmail.com. I'm on Getter now, at The Red Nerd, the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can also follow me on Odyssey at The Renaissance Nerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.